Welcome. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Editor's Q&A. My name is Randy Surles. I'm an editor, developmental editor, book coach, ghostwriter, and formerly a Green Beret and a Ranger. So I like to focus on military a lot, probably 50, 60% of my clients, but I also do action, science fiction, and fantasy. And I got my buddy here, Dan Pace. Go ahead and introduce yourself, buddy.
Hey, Randy. Good seeing you. Dan Pace here. I'm a retired Green Beret and now author, working to be a full-time author, but balancing day job with author work right now as we try and figure out what to be when we grow up. But love doing this podcast. It's a chance to get out and talk to people who are in a similar situation, looking to make that transition from military to writer, or writers who are looking to kind of get access to that military community. And I think this is a super great forum for discussing some of those friction points as we all grow into a new profession.
Yeah, man, and I've had a great time doing this with you too. So I hope we're helping people out there. I've had a lot of I don't think I've had a lot of people contact me uh, in the last month. Like I think I've had 10 people contact me about their military memoirs. One guy's writing some military fiction, and this, leader. I got a Navy guy who's writing a leadership book. So there's definitely a lot of military guys with ideas that need some guidance because it's complicated, right? You did your first book before you met me, and now the world's completely changed since you wrote that book too. I mean, with the did you also self-publish that first book?
I did. Yeah. It was actually built it in PowerPoint because that's what I knew, and then converted it to a PDF to kind of publish that way. And just the things you don't realize. You don't realize all the different ways you can format, all the different ways you can make things work. And we've learned a lot since then.
What year is that when you published it?
2023, 90% sure it was 2023.
Oh,
So 3 years ago.
a lot of this stuff was already around. You just didn't know about it.
That's more and more. That's what I realize is actually most of the answers to what problems we bump into are already out there. It's just a matter of you not knowing them. And if you don't know and you're not plugged into that community, as many people coming out of the military aren't, you don't really have any access to those tools at all. I feel like somebody that's never served in the military trying to write a story about it accurately, and there's just all kinds of stuff you screw up, right? Like you just can't tell that story the way you could if you'd been there, unless you've got a really solid editor who can kind of fill you in on those details. I feel that way about writing. Like when you first step out, you're like, oh, I'm just going to do this. Oh, actually, that's not how you do that at all. It's absolutely not the right way, and you kind of learn through that. But it's a whole new world with a different set of tools and processes that you gotta figure out.
Yeah, I should just make a free handout where like, hey, if you're just looking to do this, this, and this, like you don't need to hire anyone, man. Just you here's a YouTube channel to learn how to use to fix to format your book. Here's another
Mhm.
one on how to load it up on Amazon. Here's a couple people that can help you with covers, and then go to town. 50 bucks, all that stuff. All the rest of it's free, and you knock it out, right?
It's true, right? I mean, if you just knew how to use Atticus alone, then you can turn your Word document into a pretty nicely formatted book with just kind of sweat equity, right? Like you could just nug that out as a guy with no real experience in interior design, none of that. You could chug through it on Atticus and come out with a decent product. The cover, we have talked it before, but just hire somebody to do your cover. Like just do that. You will get a better result. It's not going to look good when you make it yourself. Even if you like my first book, I actually built the cover, but had somebody build the graphic. I wanted like a logo and this and that, so I had to put that together. I thought, well, I could build the cover. It's still not as good as he would have done. There's just an art to it that you almost certainly don't have. I don't. Gotta acknowledge that. But if you just pay somebody to do your cover, you can go on Fiverr, get somebody to do that. You can get your Amazon templates and send it to them. You get your Atticus. You can use an artificial editor if you wanted to use like Pro Writing Aid or something. Although I really strongly recommend you actually get a real editor. Even if you just want to put it together yourself, get an editor to reread your stuff. None of us ever writes as well as we do when somebody else is providing feedback. That's just a reality. I don't think the greatest authors in history did either. So nothing special. But yeah, to your point, it can be pretty low cost. If you just want to tell a story, you just want to throw it on Amazon to say you published a book, or you just want to hand around copies of it. to supplement maybe your speaking career, or because you want to add more credibility to yourself as like a keynote speaker. It's totally doable, and you can do it pretty low cost for sure.
You know what? I think I'm going to add a WordPress page to my web page that's just like, hey, if you just need to, if you have a book and you're not interested in getting someone look at it, which we highly, discourage, you should probably have somebody who knows about, has experience about structure and formatting and stuff like that. Not formatting the book to make it into a book, but just like, is the reader's experience going to be great reading this book? And like people like me can give you that advice. But if you don't want to do that, if you've had some beta readers and they give you thumbs up, then I'll just have like a list of things like, hey, if you want to do a copy edit, we're talking about copy editing. If you want to do copy edit, here's some good pieces of software. They cost this much. You can go, here's the link. Here's some software for Vellum or Atticus that format your book. Here's some, Fiverr or I want a bookcover.com or bookcovers.com. I'll put those links in there. And then basically you can do the whole thing for under a couple $100 depending on how much you want to spend for the cover. And I think a lot of people are just looking for that. Sometimes they sign up for appointments with me, and I'm just like, yeah, I can't help you with any of that. I mean, I can put you in the right direction, but I don't do any of that. But you got to be careful because people will take advantage of you too.
Yeah, sure.
And there's people out there probably on Fiverr too that will take your book and publish it as their own. And that's kind of scary too. But ideally, if you don't mind doing a couple hours of work, I mean, you can figure this all out. You figured out Kickstarter on your own. You did it on a weekend.
It's doable. I mean, YouTube is a wonderful resource. ChatGPT, I use Gemini too. Those are all great tools for just help me get started. Build me a project plan for carrying a Kickstarter campaign. And you're not going to master it, and it's not going to tell you everything, but it's going to give you the starting points you need to really figure that out. Yeah, I like what you're talking about. I love it. The kind of idea that somebody coming to you is really just looking for like a one-stop. What they want is a publisher who will say yes and just do all the legwork to publish. And they're out there. My understanding, I haven't bumped into any, is they're basically like predatory kind of vanity publishers who are basically like, I'll take your money, I'll put it on Amazon, it'll be done. I don't know if that's as predatory as people make it out to be. I'm not going to defend it, but in the end, people just want the book out. They want it done. You can go to somebody to get a one-stop shop, like, hey, bam, your book's online. It's published. There it is on Amazon right there. You can link it to all your friends and stuff, and you could probably get that pretty cheap. But I think most people will be disappointed when they do it that way. I think if you do that, you're going to realize, like, I'm not actually that happy with the product, but it is out there. It's like a bad social media post, right? You can't actually take it back. So is that what you want your book to look like? And if the answer is yes, then I go for it, right? I've read some really badly formatted books that have actually done pretty well. Like I've read some books that were recommended by friends that are on, I'm trying to remember a title, but I probably shouldn't dime the person out anyway, but it was one of the kind of self-help, this is how you kind of succeed in life. Guys like, this is great. Read it. It's really amazing. And you read it, very poorly edited and formatted, but that guy doesn't care. That guy isn't really selling a good book. He's selling, his kind of, self-help series sort of engagements. I'm not crapping on that at all, but that's what he's selling. So he doesn't care about the formatting. He knows you'll just note through the book because really what you're interested in is what he's telling you to do. And I suppose that's a way, but I really think you should just shell out a little extra time and money and do it better. I think most people will be happier with that product, but everybody has a different way of doing things.
I mean, I think what people, you're talking about the hybrids that maybe they're predatory, maybe they aren't. It all depends on what you want, right? If you just want someone to hold you by the hand and do it, they'll do it, and they'll do it for most of them charge a little bit of money. What I don't think they're transparent about, maybe they are. I've never worked with them, but I've known people who work with them. Is you're not going to get a bestseller. Probably most people don't. I mean, they may say, hey, we've had 20 bestsellers, but how many people have put their books through their hybrid process, right? And so what's the percentage chance that you're going to be a bestseller? Not even a bestseller. Bestseller doesn't make you a millionaire either. You could sell you could sell 100,000 books and you won't make $1 million. And the reality is most books, 80% of the books sell less than 1,000 copies, and 50% sell less than like 500 copies. And so when you're thinking about making $2, if you're lucky, off each copy, that doesn't turn into a lot of money. And if you're going to pay a hybrid, three, four, five, $10,000, depending on what you ask them, you're probably not going to make your money back. If you do it yourself, you may walk away with a couple hundred or a couple $1,000s. And it's going to take you maybe a week to figure everything out. It depends on how much time you got and how much, how many videos you're going to watch before you get it all in there. But you can get it on Amazon in an afternoon by watching a couple of YouTube videos. You can learn how to format with either Vellum or what's the other one called? I keep forgetting. Atticus. You can learn that. The Atticus is a little longer, but Vellum, I learned it in an hour. And Atticus is not too much longer, a couple hours to get all.
We learned it together, right? How long did it take us to get that book formatted on Atticus? Like a couple of days of phone calls off and on, like click in, trying to figure it out, flip it through. I mean, it's doable. If we can figure it out, surely other people will figure it out.
I can't figure out how to do this. Like, oh, you just push this button. I was like, dang it. And then the cover, you might have to wait for a couple of days to get someone to help you with that. But you can do it for as little as 50. And if you want a better quality cover, you're gonna have to pay a little bit more money. And the important thing about the cover is the formatting, to get it the right format for the Amazon, the right format for, draft to digital, or one of the other things if you want to load it up on the other platforms. Barnes and Noble has a different format for their cover than freaking Amazon does. So you have to figure out how to get all that done, and it's easier just to pay someone to do it and make sure you get it right. Because if you get it right, it's just frustrating. You're like, upload. You're like, dang it, upload, and you're moving stuff around, and it's such a pain.
It's hard unless you're an Adobe Pro or one of the equivalents, which has a subscription cost all its own. But unless you're a graphic designer and you have access to that software, it doesn't really matter if you're creatively, proficient at making it. You just won't be able to get the spine width, which has to be matched to your page count, which has to be matched to the margins and the wraparound of it. That's just not going to come out right. Like, and how do you embed the barcode properly so that it recognizes properly? And where do you even get a barcode? Like, there's a lot of stuff like that you got to kind of do it for a living, or at least, do it often enough that you probably don't want to do it first time. Like, don't PowerPoint your cover. It's not gonna come out the way you're hoping it will. I tried. So just know that it's not going to.
And I'm a PowerPoint master.
Hey, I did a lot of Army time, right? I'm pretty good at PowerPoint. But you just can't be good enough at PowerPoint to make that work, because it's just not the right tool for the job. Like, you're trying to hoe with a rake, right? It's just not going to work.
Also, what a lot of people don't know is there's a lot of color contrast stuff that people like us don't even know. We know when we see it, we're like, ew. Sometimes, not all the times, but we have a lot of times when we're making our own covers, we have an idea of what we want it to look like. And the reality is the colors we've chosen are not contrasting enough. So you can't see the author's name as well as you could if you just tweaked it a little bit, or the title, or even the things that are in the cover don't stand out as much as they would. And an artist or a graphic artist or a graphic designer or something like that would have a little bit more knowledge about that. So they could say, yo, let me tweak this a little bit. How's that? And they can just do it like that. So it's almost worth it, especially if nothing else for your first time, to kind of get a professional to kind of walk you through this so you understand how it works. And then, if you're going to buy Adobe Design, if you don't already have it, I mean, that's a bunch of money, right? Even Atticus is $100 some. So if you're only going to use it once, maybe it's better to pay a guy $100 to do it for you, so you don't have to buy the software and spend the time to learn it. So it's all how much your budget is, how much time you have, and if you actually want to invest the time to learn this stuff or not. If you're going to do it multiple times, if you have like a bunch of book ideas, you should probably learn it yourself, right? If you're going to self-publish. And then we got the other thing, right? Which I've had some experience, but you don't have much experience, which is real publishing, going to a publishing house and an agent, which is a whole different story and takes a long time. Like, it's not like I found an agent and then you're going to get published within the year. First of all, it takes, I was just working with a young lady a couple weeks ago. She was looking for an agent for over 9 months, and then she found the agent. And then 6 months later, the agent found a possible publisher that's looking at it and about to put in a thing. But that's a year and 3 months, right? That's just to get and then once the publisher gets it, it's another 6 months process on top of that. So we're talking almost 2 years before your book comes out. When you could have put it out by yourself, started working on your next one, and you were already making a little bit of money, if nothing else, and you keep most of your royalties.
Yeah, that's the whole model. You're right. I don't have a lot of experience with the traditional publication world. I have a buddy Adam that's been kind of working through it for a while now, and from an outside observer, his process has mostly been frustration. I don't know. I mean, I'm an advocate of self-publishing. I think it's probably the better answer, but the truth is, it probably depends on why you're doing it. I really wouldn't want to give up creative control of my books. I really wouldn't want anybody else to decide what they could or could not put in my book. I really want that to be me. Same with cover art, same with a lot of the other little eaches about it. To me, that's important. If you were really just looking for something that was going to like catapult you toward, another career, like again, speaking engagement, keynotes, sort of speaker, trad publishing is probably for you, actually. Like it's because you get more exposure. I think it's got kind of a sexier factor to it. You're definitely going to get the book into more places like stores faster, but you're not going to see money off of that. Like your first book, you're not going to get a big advance unless you're the sort of person who could get a big advance. I mean, I don't know if Bill Clinton wrote a book before, he wrote My Life. Probably not, but I feel like he probably did fine on his negotiation, right? But unless you've got that kind of wasta coming into the shop, you really got no negotiation space. You're a total noob, and they're going to treat you as such. So just bear that in mind. Like, again, it comes back to like, why are you writing this book? Okay, why are you writing the book? Why do you want to put the book out there? And then how much control do you want over that book? And then if you can answer those questions, you can kind of flow chart your way into, I think, the answer that works for you.
Yeah. And so from what I understand, from what I've read and what I heard from a few authors that have gotten advances, first time author advances are like 5, 10, maybe 20,000 if you're lucky. And if you spent 3 years writing your book and it takes another 2 years to get your book out there, like
you're not going to make any money as an author for a long time. Like, I don't know if anybody thinks that you're going to come in. Last I checked, like every author I ever read about as a kid and as an adult, even now, basically starved for a long, long time before they made any money. Like that should be your expectation. Like you're going to suffer for your art because nobody's going to give you any money at first or believe your book is worth a shit because you're just some person. And there's a lot of other persons out there publishing. And so why should they pick up your book?
And if you get an advance, you're only getting like 1/3 up front. Then you get 1/3 when it finally goes into the publishing, mechanism, and then 1/3 when it finally gets published. So if you're getting, even if you got the 20,000, you're still only getting like 6 or something, and every 6 months or something.
It's like an enlistment bonus when you're a Joe, right? It's worse than an enlistment bonus when you're a private. You're like, I didn't think I had any money then. Like, I'm definitely not gonna have any money getting a book advance, and that's assuming you get an advance because you're good enough to get an agent, to have a publisher interested. Like, again, if you don't know somebody and you don't have an in, it's very challenging. And I don't have a lot to offer on the best practices because I don't know how to do it. So I'm assuming, it's pretty difficult.
Yeah, no, and I get a lot of people that hit me up. They're like, "Hey, I want to get a publishing deal," and I was like, "I mean, there's no guarantees, man. I mean, I'll give you my best feedback to make it the best book possible, but there are no guarantees in this publishing world. There never were, and it's even less now because there's so many books being produced every day, a lot more than there ever were before. So you really have to kind of come to the table with, a really unique, extraordinary idea if you're writing fiction. And if you're writing nonfiction, it's got to be like something that people are going to be interested in. Like you got to really figure out your audience and say, this is how I'm going to market to my audience. And if you got a great idea and you got a great topic that people will be interested in, kind of like Operation Pineapple Express was like, they signed that deal like 3 weeks after the last plane left Afghanistan, when it was like, this is the only thing going on. Like that was the only thing going on.
Right? The iron is hot.
But they all signed they signed the deal within a month with a pretty good advance from what I understand. I don't know exactly what it was, but by the time the book came out, Ukraine was already coming in. Everyone had forgotten about Afghanistan. Ukraine kicked off, early, the next like March or April or whatever it was. So like 6 months later, and everyone had forgotten about Afghanistan for the most part until like the anniversary, which is when they released the book. And we didn't finish writing the book until we finished writing the book at the end of March. It came out in August because it took 6 months for them to finalize the cover and the formatting and the copy editing and the sort of marketing thing that whatever they were going to do and all that stuff. And that was the plan. That was always the plan. Like, hey, we got to release this in August. And he was like, great, we got a year. Like, no, you don't. you got 5 months. and because we need to get to see the first draft by March. And he's like, what? And then we had to do 2 rewrites too, not full rewrites, but 2, they did edits, gave us notes, and we had to do two rewrites with the notes. And they even asked for an extension. They're like, hey, we're a little behind. Can we get an extension? It's like, yeah, but you're not going to get your rest of your advance because you violated the contract. And if it doesn't, and if we give you an extra month, it will come out in August because we got other books that are already lined up to come out all between here and August, and we got to address them. We have contracts with them. So if you want an extension, we're not going to get your book out till next year, and you're going to miss the whole anniversary news reels and everything like that when you want to market your book. So yeah, when you sign a contract with publishers, the clock starts, right? Because you promise, you're like, I got this book, it's done, or it's half done, or it needs edits or whatever. And they're like, great, we want it in 3 months so we can start the process and get it out by the end of the year. And so I've always told everyone that they're like, I want to put a proposal in. It's like, all right, but just remember, when you get the proposal in, if they accept it, the clock starts and they're going to they're like, hey, this is when it's due. And you need to be able to write it. Like if you have a job, are you going to be able to dedicate that much time for the next 2 or 3 months to write the dang book? So
it's so true, man. Like it's more than anything what I want to communicate to people who are thinking about picking up, a pen or starting to peck one of these things out, is that there is a business side to being a writer that is just, it's real. It is a very like cold reality. Like whatever you may think about the beauty of storytelling or creating this kind of lasting, artifact that's going to be great, you're really going to communicate a message to people. Like there is an entire side of it that is very much based on, you violated the contract because you're 2 days late. Therefore, we're not going to give you the money that we said, because that's how contracts work. And they're a business. They're looking to make money. Even if you self-publish, the reality is it's just that way. Algorithms, marketing, upfront expenses, royalties, taxes on sales tax on the items that you distribute. Like you're going to have a lot of things, whether you work through the trad publishing world or the self-publishing world, that have nothing to do with being a storyteller, that you're going to have to figure out. Because if you don't figure them out, it's going to, I think this, I mean, maybe again, George R.R. Martin probably doesn't have to figure this shit out anymore. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he can just do whatever he wants and write and it's fine. But unless you're that guy, if you don't figure this stuff out, it's going to undermine your ability to tell that story. Your story is never going to get to anyone because you haven't mastered the kind of peripheral skills necessary to get that story in front of people. And it sucks to realize. It's just unfortunate, but it's like everything else about life, right? Like there's just stuff that goes into, like, you want a cool car, great. You got to maintain it. You got to put tires on it every 2 years. Wait, tires are expensive. Like, yeah, you didn't know that when you bought the car, but sure enough, an oil change on a Beamer and tires on a Beamer, like all that maintenance, it's really expensive. It's kind of a surprise cost you weren't expecting. Writing has a lot of that. And the more you spend on it, the more you've got to invest in all of that periphery. And it's a little eye-opening, but people got to come into that wide-eyed. You got to come into it knowing that that's there. Otherwise, it could be really frustrating really quickly.
Right. So that's one of the comforts of hiring these hybrid companies, because with your package, however much it costs, I've heard some people pay up to $10,000 depending on what they want. You can usually get a la carte, right? I want a developmental editor. I want a copy editor. I want a freaking cover package where I get a bunch of different people to send me samples. I want formatting. I want you to get it on Amazon. I don't want to pay any royalties, and all that costs extra money because some of them want royalties too on top of all this. maybe not as much as Simon and Schuster, but maybe 10, 20, 30% in order to reduce the price. And if you don't want to give them royalties, they'll up the price. And so you get all that stuff, but you don't have to think about it, and you don't have to vet the quality of people that are helping you, ideally, because they got people that they've been working with for years that are good quality developmental editors, or cover artists or formatters or copy editors or whatever. If you are going to do it by yourself, well, you got to figure out who's going to edit your book and make sure that they're good. And I mean, I consider myself a pretty good developmental editor, but I've never had one person ask me for my certifications.
Sure.
I have an MFA in creative writing. I have a couple certifications from different agencies and companies, but no one's ever said, "Hey, how do I know you're good?" They've just said, "Hey, can I get some contacts, some authors you work with?" Yeah, sure, no problem. But there's a lot of people out there that start this. They're college students and they start it, and maybe they have a couple of books under their belt from working with their buddies, but they don't have a lot of experience. So it's hard to figure out who the right people to work with is, and who the right person with the cover is. And if you send them money, are they just going to disappear because people are living all over the world now, right? I mean, I've heard about that on Fiverr a couple times as well. So if you don't want to be bugged with that, and which is part of the self-publishing deal, then you might have to go through the hybrids. And maybe that's just a peace of mind thing.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all in what you want to invest. I don't think it's necessarily bad to do it. I mean, again, they do get kind of a bad rep, at least on Reddit. People gripe about them a lot, in terms of oh, it's just a vanity publisher. It's just a vanity publisher. Like, I don't know. Is anything about publishing not just vanity? I mean, if you want to really get down to it, we're all putting our ideas out there for people to read. We want people to read them. There's a little bit of, you call it vanity, wrapped up in that anyway. And so if it makes you feel better because you can sleep easier, that you've given all this work to somebody else, they're going to do it all for you, and there's some credibility there, then go for it. There's not really a wrong way. Just understand the costs and benefits of the different methods. And I think you won't be wrong, right? I mean, there's no real wrong way to do it. Well, that's not true. I won't dime him out, but a buddy did send me a book that he'd already published on Amazon. He's like, "Hey, check this out. Read it through for me." And I read through it, and it was terribly formatted. Like, it was criminally, horribly, he's like, "Yeah, it's the problems with the formatting." So we talked through it. Work that out before you put it live, right? Because once it's live, the shot is fired. You threw around it the way.
You can edit the books that are on Amazon, I think, right? You can.
You can 100% re-release your manuscript and republish, and you could do that. But in that window, when somebody clicks buy and they buy your book and then they download it, and I mean, you can really tank your book quick by getting a couple of 1-stars from people who are like, "This book is bucked up. It shouldn't be published because it's broke," basically. And you're like, that's not what you want. You got to get your best product forward. And so we did work that out. And so hopefully he's straightened that out now. And he's learning, man. We're all getting there. But so you can do it wrong, but just don't, be a little cautious. Try and do your very best. I've never put a book out that didn't still have errors in it. No matter how many times I go through it, I will still find a typo in there somewhere, because it's just the way life is. But you got to try and get to 0. Otherwise it's going to just look real bad when it's out there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and a lot of people rush to the finish line when they finish it, right? They're like, "I spent so much time and energy doing this, and now I just want to publish it. How hard can it be? I want to do it. I want to get it out next week." But you need beta readers. Ideally, you need a developmental editor. You need a copy editor. I mean, it's still, even if you're self-publishing, you may not have to wait 18 months, but you probably have to wait a good month to get all that stuff together, and also come up with a marketing plan. I mean, really, if you're going to market it yourself, you need to figure out Facebook ads or Amazon ads, social media, your release date, having pre-orders, copies, and contacting the right people so that you can get the algorithms liking you when you launch the first day and you sell 100 copies. That's all important.
It's also important. I mean, I finished the manuscript on my next book, September, either September or October. I will be happy if it's out by the end of this month, because there's still a couple of hanging chads and you can't rush the stuff. It's just got to get done. So if it's published by the end of February, I'll be like, okay, great. Realistically, probably more like mid-March, and you just can't rush it. If you try to rush it, I could publish it today. It's not going to be right. it's not going to be right. And all that work you didn't do, it's going to tank your ability to kind of make that book succeed. And so it takes time, and you just gotta take that time, be patient. Don't shit right before the finish line, like it's not what you want to do.
No, I agree. What else? You got any other pre-production information or tips you want to get anyone?
Nuggets of wisdom, right? I mean, editing, right? Just comb through, edit, comb through. Here's one. You've got to make sure, so you've got to get dust jacket and early review comments, right? Those are kind of critical to making your early marketing go. Plus, you can't put out cover art until you have the dust jacket comments. But what does that mean? That means somebody's got to read it. That's kind of worth putting on the dust jacket, right? So you got to get it to somebody who well enough, or that you think would like it well enough. It takes time to get a hold of any important person. They're going to be a couple of weeks back and forth with them. Even if you get them to agree to yes, then they got to have time to read your book. Well, do you give them your finished book, or do you kind of an earlier, rougher draft? Well, that's a balance. How well do you know the person? Do you think they'd be miffed if you gave them a book that's still got some typos in it because it is a pre-read copy? Well, if you feel that's the case, and you got to wait till it's all the way done, well, you talk about timeline. I've got one of my pre-readers, great dude. I'm very glad that he's willing to work with me, but he's had the book for 3 months now. He'll be done. He's like, I'm going to get it. I'll get done. I'm not going to rush him. He's doing me a favor. Bake that time in. Know that it's going to take time to get all that stuff done. It's just one more thing in your giant Gantt chart of tasks that have to get done in order to make the book. Like, you got to start all those lines of effort. You got to let them all walk through, and you just got to know that it's going to take time to finish them up. Dust jacket comments are just one more of those joyous parts of writing that has nothing to do with telling a good story. So,
do you get hardbacks with dust jackets?
So my latest one, The Whale and the Kraken, is the first one that I did with a dust jacket. Usually I do a hardback with just a normal, what do they call it? Perfect bound, I think it is, which is just a hardback, more like slick cover, like a textbook kind of publication. Right. But I've worked with Book Vault to do they call it a bespoke book, which is a little silly, but basically just a book with a dust jacket and kind of a leathery cover. And I did that for The Whale and the Kraken. It was an extra couple of steps, but it's cool. You get the little ribbon, and you get the end papers, which are like those little illustrated things that are inside the cover that I don't know what we're called, but are apparently called end papers. And then you get a nice dust jacket, and it came out really well. And it didn't actually add that much to the print costs. It's just one more thing that's a little bit of extra ass pain if you want it to happen. And so you gotta go through that work. And my poor cover artists, send him some new templates. Hey, can you just do these templates now too? And he's patient. He does a great job. But there's a lot of that stuff. Like, how do you build the repeating patterns that are, those end papers? Like, how do you build one of those patterns? Yeah, you could try and wing it, or you could probably have somebody get the spacing right and make it perfect so that it actually looks like a real product. Totally recommend that. But it's just a couple more things you've got to do, more steps you got to kind of line up right. And yeah, it went well.
I don't think Amazon does dust covers, does it?
They do not.
No.
At least no way that I know. Like, you can do perfect bound, or you can do paperback, or you can do digital, but they don't really have a kind of sexy publication version. You got to go through like Book Vault or what's the other one? I was thinking Hulu's coming to mind. It's another kind of weird word like that, but I'm blanking on it. But there's another one that does it. I like Book Vault. They do a good job.
Have you done any audiobooks for your books yet?
So it's an entire separate show we could do on audiobooks. So I am recording my own audiobook. I have I downloaded the software. There's a free version. You can watch a couple of YouTubes on how to do it. Once again,
let's talk about that next time. That's fine. Let's talk about that next time.
It's such a learning curve, Randy. We could talk about it for a whole show about how painful it is to get the audio.
I tried. So I wrote this memoir for this Vietnam veteran, and I worked on a year for his thing, right? And then he asked me, he's like, I want you to do it. And I was like, whoa. I don't have a studio. I don't have I live in this cavernous house that I'll have to soundproof or something. And it's like, it's not that easy. I can't just start talking into the computer. And he's like, no, you figure it out. I'll pay for the studio, whatever. I was like, well, but I don't have I live in Spain. I don't think there's a studio that I can rent for whatever. But I looked into it. I actually talked to an audio book reader, and it tried to get all the information. And I was just like, I don't think this is going to happen, Tom. And I'm not, and then I think he went and got someone else. I gave him a couple names, but yeah, it's not as easy as just like putting some earphones on, a microphone, and talking into your computer. It's a whole thing. And I want to, I want to hear about your experience. We can talk about that next time.
I would love to. I will. I am 2/3 through that book, the Iraq book. It was what it was. I'm 2/3 through finishing it. I love the idea of the author narrating his stuff. It's my voice. I'm talking. I like that. The actuality is quite painful, and it's time suck. So we can talk through how long it takes to put one of those together for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, I think we can wrap this episode up then, and we'll do audiobooks next time. That'll be great.
Let's do it, man. I think next Monday is a holiday. You want to do it again on Tuesday? Want to do it Tuesday?
Is Tuesday better for you?
Tuesday is better for me next week, just because Monday's a federal holiday over here in the States, man. I won't be at work, so try not
maybe
to.
Maybe we do it every Tuesday. I mean, I got Mondays. Mondays are getting fuller now than they were, so maybe Tuesdays are good. But yeah, we'll put that out on our social media and on the webpage, but we'll be back next Tuesday, and maybe all the Tuesdays for the foreseeable future.
It's great. It's awesome. Right. Hey, it's great times, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. Okay, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And if you guys got any ideas on any topics you want us to cover, you can hit me up on my Instagram or LinkedIn. See you later. See you again. See you next time, Dan.
Take care, Randy.
Cool.